Welcome back to Torah on Tap. It's been way too long. I can't believe it's been almost a month. In the interim, we had Hanukkah, we had the season's greeting holidays, and before that, I wasn't here because my wife and I celebrated we actually celebrated our 26th anniversary in September, but we went away for our 25th anniversary only a few weeks ago. And we're still going out again for our 26th anniversary, so we're still figuring out our next destination. So it's been lots of happy, fun things happening at our home, and I'm very excited to be back. I really love this series, and I'm sorry we stopped. So just to recap, first of all, if you are tuning in again for the first time, you can find all of these classes on our YouTube page at youtube.com/chazak, that's C-H-A-Z-A-K. There are, I think, something like 2,700 classes on that YouTube page. It's all there for free for now, so take advantage of it. All right, all the source sheets are, by the way, are my description as well. So if you ever want a class, you want to see the source in it, just go there, description, source sheet, click it, download it. Okay, we're talking about manifesting your dreams. And last week, what we spoke about is that you are where your mind is. That was the whole entire class in a nutshell. You are where your mind is. I pick an idea, and then the sources I'm bringing down are all designed to help us kind of like fall into an idea. There's two ways of learning something. One is linearly, and the other is cyclically. Cyclical is, imagine like falling into a pit, an endless pit of one idea, and you keep falling and falling over and over in it until you finally understand. That's the way the Maharal teaches the subject. He'll speak about it, and he'll speak about it in circles over and over again until it becomes clear and clear and clear. But most importantly, until you own it. It's got to become your idea. Nice idea on paper, nice idea to listen to intellectually, but ultimately at the core, what you want is the ability to internalize the idea so that they are yours, not just mine. Okay, so we're talking about manifesting your dreams. Okay, and this is this is the third conversation we're having about it, and this is a very profound idea that I believe will help you manifest your real dreams. So number one is the first source over there. We're quoting David HaMelech. He says, "Sur meirav asay tov." What does that mean? What does it mean to sur meirav asay tov? To shun evil and do good. How do you shun evil?
Put it to the side.
You just put it to the side. Ignore it. So I'm going to put you to the side, and I'm just going to. So, well, how does that work? So one is control, right? I'm going to choose my intellectual, understanding of reality over my emotions. What else is there? Stay away from evil people. Yeah, anything that's bad, stay away from that. Just don't be around anything negative. What else? Well, if you're doing good, isn't that shunning bad?
Not necessarily.
So what? Not necessarily? If every second of your day, all you're doing is good, is there any room for bad? Crickets? What? Yes. No, there is or there isn't?
No, there's still room.
There's still room for bad. Okay.
Anything can come to sabotage the good. Like something can take over.
Okay, yeah, that's true. But meaning like so like this. Like there's two ways of thinking about it. This is a very, very debated topic, right? There is an approach that says no, you have to actually go out and fight the bad. Sur meirah is not just ignoring the bad. It means literally defeating the bad. So how do you defeat the bad? Imagine the darkness as evil. How do you destroy the darkness? One is by trying to, take out a sword and shield and literally fight the darkness, which is you're never going to win, which is exhausting. And the other is lighting a candle. Right? Lighting a candle, bringing light into the world. And I think that's what Asay Tov, that's what Asay Tov is. Right? But all of us are in a constant flux state of choosing to ignore evil or to be in a place where we're proactively doing good. Which one are you? Are you always fighting, putting out fires? Or are you always in the place where you're proactively working on something that is enabling you to express that good? Okay, so now when we look at this next source, Pirkei Avot, right? The Chachamim say this is the first oral tradition we have in the Mishnah and Pirkei Avot. And it says as follows. They said three things. What? Havu mitunim badin. What does that mean? You're a group of elderly scholars. What does that mean? What does Havu mitunim badin mean? Be strict in your justice. Or he says, be patient in administering of your justice. What is mitunim bedin? Being careful in how you administer your justice. What does that mean? Does that mean like you should just think before you act? Does that mean that just take a laissez-faire to the circumstances you find by? What does it mean to be patient when it comes to the way you judge the world around you? How often do you find yourself in a position where you see something, have a gut reaction to it, and you were completely wrong, you completely misunderstood, misdiagnosed, misread, you got it flat out wrong, and you made a complete, absolute fool of yourself, right? It's happened to me all the time, right? All the time, you just make mistakes. So is havu mitunim bidim mean that, because remember, this Perkei Avot wasn't just written for the broader public. Perkei Avot was written for the judges, right? It's written for people that are going to go out and judge strict cases. But this is something that is for you and I to walk away with. So how do we take this idea and put it into our own reality? So now this is very important because we're seeing this more and more in science today as well. That there are that the world that we live in, the observable world around us, is a reflection of our reality. And there are some there were some scientists today that will even go as far as saying that if it's not being observed, it's not real, it does not exist. That what makes your world around you a reality is the fact that you're perceiving that reality. Now, this is very interesting because if my reality that I see around me exists because of my perception, how does my own perception influence what I see? There's two things happening here. There's me looking at the chair, and I'm looking at the chair now, the chair exists, and then it's how I judge the chair. Oh, that's not a comfortable chair. Kind of like it's old, it's dinky, it's wood, it's beat up. It's not a leather chair, it's not a lazy boy, there's no heated padded seats in there. This is like a poor man's chair. Right? How does my judgment of the chair impact how I perceive the chair itself? Lo toturu achrei levavchem, the pasuk says. You shall not go astray after your eyes. Right? Well, what does that mean? Lo toturu achrei levavchem v'achrei einechem. You should not go astray after your heart and your eyes. We said this before, that your heart always comes before the eyes because the way you feel about something colors the way you see something. Right? So you automatically have a bias and a judgment. Now, if you were in our class, I don't even know how long ago it was, but I think it was 2 summers ago, we did the whole entire thing on the zodiac, and we spoke about how your mazal very much influences you, the time of the month, the hour, the place, your parents, your family, the coordinates, the GPS coordinates of where you were actually born, all have an impact on who you are. And all of that has an impact on how you perceive your world. So is it possible to perceive your reality without a skewed vision so that you could actually see it without it being adulterated by all the things that make you you? Can I actually experience something without bias? Is that possible? You think it's impossible to experience things without bias?
I think it's impossible.
Okay, good. I want you to think that because you're wrong. I was just joking. I don't know if you're wrong. We'll find out. Let's go on together. Okay, number 3, right? The Etz Chaim, right? The Arizal says the process of spiritual maturation mirrors the progression from kamut to gadlut, from something small to something that is big. Okay? There's something called spiritual mirrors. The vessels in the world of nikudim begin in the state of constriction, right? Ktanut, small, unable to contain the divine light fully, which leads to the breaking of the vessel, shvirat kelim. This breaking occurs because the vessels are immature and self-focused. In contrast, the rectification of the tikkun that follows involves the development of the gadlut, a state where the vessels reformed with greater capacity to receive and share divine light harmoniously. This shifts from immaturity to maturity, essential to both cosmic order and okay. What's he talking about over here? What is the Arizal, the Mac Daddy of all the Kabbalists, trying to convey?
Things need time to develop.
Oh, so yes, that's for sure. All time is essential for things to develop.
And you have to, everything and everyone has a higher capacity that they could
Good, 100%. Now, I think all of you will agree. Do you remember that Wheaties commercial?
What commercials?
The Wheaties commercial? You know, that small guy who's like the small kid eating it, like a football player, and then like all of a sudden he's like a small kid eating the Wheaties, you know? So like, you know, there's this idea that, oh, it's too bad, it was a great metaphor. Anyway, so imagine for a moment yourselves. There's who you are right now, the hopefully mature, elevated version of yourselves, and then there's a child in you. You know what I'm talking about? The child in us? There's dual desires. Should I come here tonight? Oh, it's so cold outside. But you haven't gone to a class in 4 weeks. Okay, but whatever it is, you go back and forth, right? And then you make a choice. By the way, there's lots of empty seats tonight because most of those people chose their childish voice and not their mature voice. Now, which voice is you? The mature voice or the immature voice? Is the adult you or is the child you? So the truth is they're both you, right? They're both you. Hopefully you're choosing more the adult version of you than the child version of you. And therefore what the Arizal is talking about is that each of us need to go through this development, this process of growth and development, where we are recognizing that there's these dual voices in us. But our goal here is to align ourselves with the mature voice and not the childish voice within us. That's what he wants over here. And this is why he says, Mishlei Perkei Avot says, number 4, K'mayim hapanim lepanim ken lev ha'adam ve'adam. Right? This is a beautiful, beautiful proverb. King Solomon says that as face answers to face in water, so does one's man's heart to another. What does that mean? Could you explain that to me?
Flesh.
What?
The person reflects.
You reflect. What does that mean, you reflect?
The way that you see, you be able to see someone and read them based on what they project to you.
Okay, this is my whole entire class today. This is my entire class, these few words. My whole entire class tonight. Right? What does it mean? The Chatan is here. What? What's that? I know, no, but we have another color. Oh, that's right, I forgot. Mazal Tov. Holy cow, how can I forget? Mabruk. This is crazy. I'm not gonna have any singles here. Baruch Hashem. Can't wait, we'll turn it into a marriage class, like for married couples. I know they got married, but they're already over the hill. These guys are still they're still climbing the hill. It's a whole different world. Whole different world. No, it sounds like that, but there is a before and after, right? There's a before and after. See, they know already. They know. There's a before and after. There's when you're engaged and there's after you're married. It's like a whole different thing. All right, anyway, it gets better, by the way, with time. Just so you know, it gets better.
Promise?
I promise. It gets much better, much better, much better. I think being engaged is so much fun. There's something unique and special about being engaged because it's like that pre-anything serious stage. And then there's something special about being married, which is different than being engaged. And I think it's better to be married than to be engaged because in many ways being engaged is like the relationship is stuck. But there's something beautiful and innocent about being in that stuck stage that you lose on some level when you're married. I'm not saying it in a way that diminishes the marriage, just about the innocence of being stupid. That's all. Anyway, fine. So anyway, so he says, "Kamaya panim lepanim," right? We reflect the world around us, and the way we see ourselves internally is the way we see things in other people. Okay. Now, what do we see? Why we do not see things as they are? We see things as we are. Let's say that again. We do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. That's probably the best way of saying it, right? I see what I see because that's how I am, right? Perception is 9/10 of the law. The other 10th is the willingness to see it differently. Okay, now, so you should all have this little thing in front of you. Everyone should know what this is, right? Right, what is this? Who can tell me what this is?
That one was creativity flippers.
Maybe. It's a Rorschach test, yes. Okay, so who wants to be bold enough to look at this and tell me what they see? Now, before you look at it, does anyone here know what a duck-faced platypus is? Okay, good. Now, How do you know that this is not a duck-faced platypus?
You don't know.
You don't know because you have no conception of what a duck-faced platypus looks like. And I recommend that you Google it afterwards. It's fascinating, right? But if you have no concept of what something is, there's no way for you to view it. There's no way for you to perceive it. So for example, you know, that the Eskimos had like, I think 27 or 29, some ridiculous amount of words for snowflakes. And the reason why they had so many different words for snowflakes, because they could tell you, they could look at a snowflake and tell you that this snowflake is different than another one. There are cultures that have names for colors that are more abundant than other cultures. Now, in the cultures that have a smaller vocabulary for colors, the nuance in the color cannot be detected without the word for it. If you don't have a word like magenta, you can't see it. It's there because your mind has a vocabulary that allows you to experience it itself. Now, who wants to tell me what they see over here?
A face.
What?
A face.
Whose face?
A face.
Oh, a face. Yeah, what else what do you see there, Natalie?
Lungs.
Lungs. Okay, good. What else? Anyone want to turn it on an angle and see if they can see something different? What? You didn't get a sheet? There's sheets back there. Someone give the kala a sheet. It's ridiculous.
Put it backwards. It looks like two
It looks like what?
arrows on the left and right side.
So it'll be something different for all of us based on our understanding of ourselves. Your own experience is what's allowing you to see what's in the ink blot. That's what the test is designed to do. The test is designed to show you how you perceive your own reality. You understand? Gemara, Talmud Kedushin says, Shmuel says, the one who blemishes another surely has the same blemish. Okay? Now, this is classic. Okay? This is a famous Gemara, right? And, the Gemara talks us about this concept of kol haposel b'mumo posel. Anyone who is going to give a negative view of someone, it's because he's aware of that negativity within himself. This is a classic example. There's a guy named Anthony Weiner. It's a horrible last name, I know. And he was involved in politics here in 2012. He was prosecuting all kinds of people for inappropriate behavior online with children. And a few months later, it was turned out that there was some kind of sting, and he himself was really doing exactly the same thing that he was prosecuting people for. And the truth is, you'll find that the more and more time you spend time thinking about this idea, and you look at it throughout history, the more you find individuals who are pointing out flaws in other people. It's the reason why they're picking out those specific flaws is because they recognize that there's those same exact flaws within themselves. By the way, this is so true in marriage. How I'm telling you, this is very, very dangerous stuff we're going to talk about right now. Okay, so the Gemara says over here, basically, Shmuel says, the one who's blemished another, same idea over there, right? That you see that blemish within yourself. Turn the page, number 8. Ben Zoma says, Ezu chacham halomed mikol ha'adam. Who is the wise man? Who learns from every single person. Okay, why is that person wise? Because they are able to recognize that each person has something unique that they have to share with, and that means they're able to hold back their biases. How many times you look at someone, oh, that guy's an idiot. I don't want to hear that person have to say. That person's this, that person's like, oh, that person's like that. I don't have to listen to them. No, the chacham is someone who's able to put away his personal bias away and try to find the one wise thing that person has to share. That's the chacham. You seeing a little bit differently right now? I'm hoping this shift happens, right? Okay, so Baal Shem Tov says as follows. He says, every person witnesses by divine providence and serves for a message for self-improvement. When someone sees a flaw or wrongdoing another person, it is a reflection of their own blemishes, albeit in another form or degree. For example, if one sees someone stealing, it may not mean they are guilty of literal theft. but they should reflect on whether they are stealing in other ways, such as disturbing a neighbor's peace, wasting others' time, or even depriving themselves of inner tranquility. It is like one who is looking in a mirror. The flaws we see in others are reflections of our own. Instead of trying to fix the mirror by judging or condemning others, I urge individuals to look inward and correct their own shortcomings. Once a person rectifies these flaws within themselves, they will no longer perceive them in others. I had a daughter who was telling me how, her friend behaves this particular way, and she's so this and so that. And I'm like listening to this person speak, this young child, and I'm like, dude, like that, you're describing yourself. She's like, really? I'm like, exactly. I'm like, because you are literally able to perceive these negative traits in this other person because that's what you are. But now the Baal Shem Tov is saying something different. What's that?
Ouch.
Yeah, that's the kind of dad I am. Not a pleasant home to be brought up in. My children had a horrible childhood. You could talk to them, you could interview them. It's really sad. But anyway, so anyone who knows my children know that's a complete lie. But anyway, you have a reality where, well, first of all, this idea makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and it should make all of you uncomfortable, because what I'm saying is when you complain about something, and the reason why you're complaining about it is because you yourself are dealing exactly with the flaw that you're describing. But it doesn't always mirror. If I see someone getting mugged in the street, does that mean I'm a mugger? I see someone, doing arson, or someone doing carjacking. Does that mean that I'm that? So it doesn't necessarily. So there's two ways of kind of unpacking it. One is that there's something similar, like the Baal Shem Tov was saying over here. It's not exactly that, but maybe something similar in that midah that you had to experience it, or it's something that's coming from a previous life. It's something that's coming from a different alternate part of you that's not a reflection of where you are right now, but something else from your past that you're dealing with. And that's why you're seeing it. Even that's not who you are now. It may have been who you were once before, which is a whole complicated can of worms we're not going to get into. But there's a reason why you're experiencing what you're experiencing always. It's never for naught. Yes?
When you say there's a reason you're experiencing it, are you saying Hashem is giving you that experience because it's on some level part of you, or you're saying no matter what you see, you're gonna see the thing that you have as a blemish? Are we finding it in what we experience, or is Hashem sending us certain experiences?
So it's both. So sometimes it's because there's a blemish that we need to be aware of within ourselves. That's why you're seeing it. When you're able to articulate the blemish in someone else, what's supposed to happen is there's supposed to be a mirror that points back inwardly. But let's say you corrected it, and I'll take it in a second. Let's say you corrected that thing and you're still seeing it. It could be there's another aspect of it yet that you have not yet fixed or rectified. Or it's possible that there's a possibility that it's something that's coming from another realm. Your mazal, your month, your circumstance, whatever it is. It's some kind of external force, which is still something you have to deal with. Yeah.
Do you think that the flaw or the incorrect eye that a person would have in another, it's a direct mirror? It can't be, if I look at someone very bad and I only notice the negative in them, or I even conjugulate lies about that person, what does that then say for me? My question is, could it be a little bit broader, or
Yeah.
is it a direct mirror?
No, so it depends. So I would say at first, we're going to get into it. Meaning, at first, you have, God bless you. It's true. At first, you have to be able to look within, and when you're unable to see the mirror, then you start looking outward and outward and outward. But you're never experiencing something for no reason. There's never a scenario where just a freak accident. There are no freak accidents in Judaism.
So maybe I'm talking about something else. I'm saying your perception, from a perception standpoint. So much of people, they look at it like the other person has something wrong.
I know. The question you have to ask yourself is why does God want you to see what you're seeing?
We don't always know.
Well, but that's the question you need to ask yourself. We often will see and respond. Ugh, you said that, you did that, well, whoosh, right in your face, right? But that's the wrong response. We're talking about the child in you versus the adult in you. The child in you is the one that says, oh, you did this, I'm doing this back to you. The adult in you, right, the mature, greater version of who you are, says, wait a second, slow down, Sparky. I'm someone that's going to be patient, right? Why did God want me to see this right now? Why am I experiencing this? Why did this happen in front of me? You know, I said the story once here before. It was many years ago when Manhattan, the tolls were much cheaper, and I was driving on the FDR. I was driving on the FDR, and I was on a phone call with one of my rabbis in Israel. And I borrowed my mother-in-law's car, and she just got a new lease, whatever. I was driving it for whatever. It was like an Infiniti, whatever. It was one of those cars. Anyway, so I'm driving on. If you know the FDR, you're going south. You're getting onto the Brooklyn Bridge, right? So there's that used to be this one lane that got you on. So in the right lane, I'm getting on a van pulls up to my left side and wants to cut me off. And I don't think he realized, but his back bumper was like pulled out. So imagine like an iron claw driving and scratching the whole side of my car. And as it's happening, like, holy, right? And I'm like, oh no, my rabbi's on the phone. I'm like, Rabbi, I'm so sorry, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know, I can't believe I haven't sworn in 25 years. It's not me. So now, that wasn't, what was that?
What did Rabbi say that?
My rabbi said, you have to ask yourself, why did Hashem? No, he didn't say that. My rabbi was laughing. But anyway, the point is that he had a good sense of humor. But like when I look back, I remember like when I walked away, I felt so bad. Like, forget about the car. I felt horrible at the car because it was my responsibility. But that one moment, like, I grew up, and I had the mouth of an Irish drunk sailor, and like all kinds of profanities would come out of my mouth all the time. And I spent many years on working on trying to use proper speech, right, and use words that heal and not words that hurt, and try to be someone who's more, respectful about his language. And so when that happened, I felt like I was back in like my hoodlum days, and I was going to come out of the car and say, "Yo," and I just like get into my shtick, and I felt so horrible. That part of me was still there, But like, why did I have to go through that moment? It could be many things. It could have been because I needed to pay for tzedakah to fix the car. I didn't give proper tzedakah. It could have been that. It could have just been for the fact that I realized that, I haven't really thought more deeply about, the way I choose my words. And I stopped refining it. And maybe this was a wake-up call to say, hey, you're not over yet. You got to keep working on this. And it doesn't really matter because like the bottom line is it's what I saw in that moment that matters. Why did I see that and nothing else? Right? That's what I saw. And therefore that reflection of what I saw outside of me is something that I want to bring back inside of me. That's what I want to get to tonight. We're talking about manifesting. We're talking about using your mind's power to make your dreams your reality. And in order for you to be able to manifest, you have to be someone that's in control of your mind. It's not enough to say, oh, okay, God, if I had $1 million, and then like play the lotto, and it doesn't work like that. The way it works is there has to be an internal development, a processing, a refining of the mind, a growing of self, an outward expanding of the self for you to change your environment. Right? We said, Da malamala mimcha. Everything that comes from above comes from you. This is an inner teaching. By the way, these teachings are very much a expression of the Baal Shem Tov, because you'll see that I quoted him a lot tonight. And the Baal Shem Tov and Rabbi Nachman, these are their topics, which means you don't see any rabbis talking about it until more recently. You'll see why in a few minutes. Okay, so the story is told about the Baal Shem Tov. Once he found himself in a place where people were desecrating the holy Shabbat, deeply shaken. He wondered why divine providence had exposed him to such an experience. He began contemplating his entire life, searching for a moment when he might have profaned the Shabbat. Finally, he recalled an incident where he had asked the Torah scholar to perform a menial task on his behalf. The Torah refers to Torah scholars as Shabbat, symbolizing their sanctity and connection to holiness. The Baal Shem Tov realized that by treating the scholar in a less than honorable manner, he had on a subtle level failed to uphold the sanctity of Shabbat. For most people, this level of introspection might seem extreme. However, for the Baal Shem Tov, this reflection aligned with his high spiritual standards, demonstrating his commitment to refining even the smallest imperfections. The Baal Shem Tov further explains, on number 11 right over there, that if we truly internalize this insight and embed it deeply into our consciousness, it would eradicate baseless hatred and negative. Yeah, we'll just finish that and I'll ask it. Negative speech, Lashon Hara. We are taught that the Holy Temple in Jerusalem was destroyed due to the baseless hatred and evil speech. Yeah.
You could dismiss the question. I guess I'm thinking like, in terms of certain relationships,
Yeah.
many times people are attracted or end up with someone who ends up really mirroring all of what we're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like levels of human beings, like soulmates and stuff
Okay.
like that, but so many people like are drawn to that and look for that and end up being really in happy marriages because of it, because that other person ends up helping you grow. So where does that fit in?
We say V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, right? What's that?
It's in Amida.
That's right. We say V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You love your friend like you love yourself, right? Who is recha? Who is your friend? It's your spouse, ultimately. The greatest expression of a friend is Bezrat Hashem going to be your marriage partner, I hope. And now what's interesting is like this. Before you're married, there's this very clear perception of what you want, what you need, right? And I've said this before, everyone that is in a state of getting married is only in that state because they selfishly believe they're going to benefit from being in that relationship, period. No one gets married because they're in love. Sorry. Right? Right? And the reason why that's true is because if you were truly in love before you got married, right, you would be you'd be in trouble. Because that means you're not able to perceive the flaws in the other person. And that means to love means to give unconditionally. Is that a healthy relationship to be in? To be in unconditional love before the commitment of marriage? The answer is no. We don't want you to be in a state of unconditional love before you're married. What we want before people are married is a clear understanding of values, of goals, understanding of chisronot, an understanding of the shortcomings, understanding of the things that make this relationship special. It's about individualism. I want there to be a very clear understanding of what this person is and what this person is not, and don't pretend. Right? Now, unfortunately, because of the nature of the way the mind develops and all the other things like pheromones and hormones that are involved in two people getting married, it's very hard to see truth. Right? It's very hard. No one can see everything before they get married. And often if you were being 100% brutally honest, and some people have a hard time doing this, there's even some level of deception that happens before two people get married, right? How are they being deceived? You're deceiving the other person because you're always putting forward the best parts of who you are. And no one's ever the best parts of who they are. Now, everyone getting married understands that whatever you're seeing is not going to be the best, and hopefully definitely not the worst, but something in between, right? But why is there deception? And the reason why there's deception in that relationship is because on some level, this is who that person wishes they can be. So what the person that marries you falls in love with who you want to be, but not with who you are. And then what happens is you get married. And then they see what you are, and then they're upset that you're not who you want to be. And this is where things get confusing. Because, is there still individuality once you're married? And of course there's individuality when you're married, but individuality often becomes the stumbling block that prevents the marriage from growing and developing into something more. Because it's no longer about what I want, it's about what we need as a relationship, as a couple. So it's a super difficult terrain to navigate because of perception. But at the core, if you walk away with this one idea in your marriage, because you'll see in a moment, marriage is like the ultimate place where we judge and see faults, point out someone else's flaws, right? And we know that from the Baal Shem Tov, that the whole reason why you're seeing those things is because it's supposed to create a level of ahavat chinam, of unfettered love. But yet somehow we're always using our negative eye. What would the world look like if we got rid of sinat chinam? What would the world look like if we actually spent time, teaching young people or giving college courses about really seeing another person, understanding that what you see is often a reflection of your own self. The hate that some people spew online is a reflection because they hate themselves, right? The Baal Shem Tov was asked the Mashiach, when will Mashiach come? Mashiach replied, when your teachings are spread throughout the world and people begin to practice them. This is what we're talking about over here. This is a famous letter that the Baal Shem Tov wrote about this moment on Rosh Hashanah where he had this like out-of-body experience and he went to different levels of spiritual realms and he had this conversation with these different entities, and Mashiach was one of them, and he said that, there are 5 things I'm going to teach you. The last thing is that Mashiach can't come until your Torah is being taught. And I love this idea because this idea is a new idea within Judaism, not an old idea. You won't find it explicitly in the Gemara. It's kind of like, it's like spread out in small places, but not explicitly stated as clearly as I'm putting it together for you over here. Right? God, it's not good for man to be left alone. This is the ultimate expression of a marriage over here. Man is not meant to be alone. You're meant to find someone who's your ezer kenegdo, a helper against him. What does a helper against him mean? The married couple. What does that mean? What does ezer kenegdo mean? Do you know? No? Okay, I'm going to teach this to you. Ready? Your wife wants to destroy you. No, she doesn't. I'm just joking. She just wanted to destroy you. No, let me explain. Ready? This is what Rashi says. Rashi says, "Lo tov li'at adam levado." It's not good for man to be left alone. Why? Because he says, "Shtei rushiyoten." Man will say there are 2 powers in this world. Hashem Elokim be'elyonim. God, the Holy One above, is alone. Ve'adam betachtonim, and man below. And therefore, when man is left to himself, he begins to develop a God complex. And it's not true just for man, it's true for women as well. It's both of us. When you're alone, you start to think that you're God's gift to the earth. And this is a problem. And therefore, the need for somebody else is there to humble us. And therefore, instead of seeing our spouse's flaws, we're supposed to be really reflecting on our own flaws. When you point out someone else's flaws, it's your way of not spending enough time and being honest about your own flaws. Because everyone's flawed. We're always flawed. Everyone's flawed. Everyone here is flawed. We all have flaws. I am flawed. Jessica will tell you all my flaws. I chew very loud. That's sugar. Anyway, so we all have flaws here, right? And therefore, my job isn't to point out someone else's flaws. My job is to recognize, why am I seeing those flaws and how am I developing myself to be a person that no longer is dealing with those flaws? Because if I could see those flaws, that means that's still my flaw. Does that make sense? Baal Shem Tov says as follows: a person we're by themselves. By the way, it's funny, I make this joke. I said I knew that my wife was my wife when she helped me realize I was nothing but a mortal man. And she popped that bubble for me and said, "You're just a boy." I'm like, "You're my girl." All right, anyway, if a person were by themselves, they might believe they are completely devout and perfect. This is the deeper meaning of the verse. It is not good for man to be left alone. Reshit, for without others, one would never recognize their faults or areas for growth. The continuation of the verse, and I will make for him a helper corresponding to him, refers to someone who reflects his flaws back to him like a mirror, enabling self-improvement. When you notice something unpleasant in your friend, first consider that it is for your own good. Reflect on how you may possess a similar shortcoming, even if in a different form. Then shift your perspective to understand that this experience is meant to help you grow. For example, if a person's prayers are disturbed or distracted by a wicked neighbor intended disrupting their spiritual focus, the Baal Shem Tov explains that this disturbance is a divine message. It serves as to highlight the areas where their concentration or intention in prayer needs strengthening. This agent, if you will, was sent to inspire them to improve their focus and connection during prayer. But instead, you're like, what a jerk. He's preventing me from praying. He's so selfish. You're missing the point. One spouse is a mirror reflecting what they need to address within themselves. I love that. Okay, number 16. Okay, I'm going to try to go a little faster over here. I think you're getting the point over here. Now, if you will forgive their sin, but if not, erase me from your book that you have read. Who said that? Moshe, look what the Baal Shem Tov says, is perhaps the thought of idolatry came into my mind, and I did not eradicate it fast enough or in the right way, so that in certain sense, since I am the leader, I caused this to happen through my thoughts, therefore erase me from your book. How powerful is that? Moshe is not pointing out, the flaw of the Jewish of the Jewish people. He's saying, erase me from your book. I'm the problem. Get rid of me then. If I'm the guy that got to this point, then I'm the leader, I'm taking responsibility. He didn't point and say, oh, who are these people that you gave me? Yes, he did complain about them. But over here, he said, it's me, not them. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov was pointing out again over here. Gemara and Brachot, they were hoodlums living in Rabbi Meir's neighborhood. And the initial reaction was to pray for their destruction. However, his wise wife, Beruria, rebuked him, advising instead of that he pray to the Blessed One for them to recognize their wrongdoings and repent. And Moshe accepted their counsel, prayed for their repentance, and the hoodlums ultimately changed their ways. Now, look at the Maharsha, number 19. How could his prayer affect them? Free will is the most essential aspect of creation and cannot be overridden. Right? How did he do that? How could he pray for them not to have bechira? So what he prayed for was the aspect in himself that these hoodlums were manifesting. Do you hear that? Can I say that again? What he prayed for was the aspect in himself that these hoodlums were manifesting. Therefore, the change wasn't in them, it was in him. If he could change how he saw those people would change. Why was he seeing them? They weren't going anywhere. I'm asking you to think more broadly about how you perceive your reality. Do you understand? And therefore, instead of reacting, having a reactionary response to the negative stimuli, forget about the external stimuli and go inside yourselves and make it personal. Yes?
Do you have any techniques for how to do that?
We are going to get there. Good question. Right? Number 20. Try this exercise. Get up, walk around the room, affirming this thought. I am a soul and my body is a garment. God, my only desire is for the full expression of your infiniteness to be manifest for all right here and now. I am not allowing infinity to manifest in its infiniteness by means of me. All inadequacies are gone because I am only receiving for the sake of expressing that infiniteness. Take a moment to realize and feel the abundant love that your infinite creator has for you and how much he believes in you that you can accomplish anything. Right? You have to get yourself to a place where you truly love and recognize that you're only here for a specific reason. Something that only you can accomplish and nobody else. Rav Dessler. Okay, we're almost finished. This is what Rav Dessler says. He says the root for the Hebrew word for nisayon has three meanings: test, banner, and miracle. Common denominator among these meanings is that they all represent something that stands out or is revealed. Banners are raised high. Miracles reveal divine providence, and tests bring out a person's hidden potential, exposing inner strengths that were previously unseen. How do you see your world? Is it just the reaction to the negative stimuli, or higher level, recognizing that it's a test for your personal growth and development? You choose. Do you want to be the child in you, or do you want to be the adult in you? Yeah.
How do you, so we're talking about perception, but when we learn to judge favorably,
Yes.
how does that fit in here? Because if you look at the other person and doing something wrong, so you try to change your perception and judge them favorably.
Danat kol dam lekavschut is this idea. I'm saying something deeper than that. Even I'm saying that when we started, we said habu, metunim badin, right? Be slow and deliberate in your judgment. What that piece of Mishnah, that first Mishnah in Perkei Avot is really saying, is more than just be patient. It's saying you need to stop, pause, and have a higher, a more developed understanding of what you're actually looking at, because what you're seeing can be a reflection of your heart and your experiences, but you might not be seeing truth. So we're saying is that, of course, you have to be slow. You got to judge everyone favorably. That's like a avada, as they say, like a duh. Of course, you got to do that. But we're saying more than that right now. We're saying that in addition to judging everyone favorably, you have to ask yourself, why are you experiencing this right now? Judging favorably means I'm just like, okay, whatever. He didn't know any better, so I'm going to ignore it. That's not enough. I'm saying something more than that. I'm saying deeper. Why did you have to see that? Why did you have to experience that? Why was this thing revealed to you right here, right now? Why is this something that, it's about that inner reflecting that I want to happen? We say, "Tzaddik be'emunotah yichyeh." The righteous man lives on faith. To be faith means to be faithful to your truths. If you don't have clarity, most people suffer because they're walking around aimlessly. Most people are unhappy because they haven't figured out what their truths are. Most people are lost, and that's why they're depressed. But when you clarify what it is you're meant to be doing here, when you recognize that your own shortcomings and the things that you see with slanted eyes at other people are truly opportunities for personal inner growth, your whole world changes, becomes something completely different. Talmud Shabbat. Man came to the door of Hillel's home shouting, "Where is Hillel? Where is Hillel?" Hillel the sage got up, covered himself, and kindly came out to meet the man, asking, "How can I help you, my son?" The man said, "I have a question." "Ask, my son," replied Hillel. The man asked, "Why do Babylonian people have strange-shaped heads?" It's a good question, right? Hillel smiled and answered patiently, "That is a good question. It is because they often have inexperienced midwives who mishandle their birthing process, and leading them to this outcome. They smush their heads. You're yanking the baby out with his head. You're squishing the head." The man left, returned shortly afterwards, shouting again, "Where is Hillel? I have another question." Hillel came just as calmly before, came out and said, "What is your question, my son?" The man asked, "Why do Talmudian people have round eyes?" Hillel responded warmly, "What a big question. It's because they live in sandy areas with frequent strong winds, so their eyes have adapted to that environment." Once more, the man left, only returned the third time and calling out, "Where is Hillel? I have another question." Hillel came out and said, "Yes, my son, what is your question?" The man asked, "Why do Africans have wide feet?" This is a very complicated answer. So what does he say? He says, he replied, "That is a great question. It's because they live in swampy areas and wide feet help them navigate their environment." Finally, the man admitted, "I made a bet with someone that I cannot make you angry, but I've lost because he's not going to get angry at me." Okay? Hillel responded, "It is better for you to lose your bet than for Hillel to lose his temper." Right? Marsha, this is what I want to get to. Ready? Hillel's response to the seemingly absurd questions were profound lessons addressing negative character traits. Right? Meaning, why did Hillel even bother answering the questions? Why did he say good question? He could have said, "Get out of here, you're bothering me, you're crazy, these are dumb questions." They seem like they're irrelevant questions. But listen to how Hillel saw the questions. The first question to the Babylonians, strange-shaped heads, Hillel explained that their inflated spirit, pride, and arrogance cause them to lose clarity and wisdom, as pride leads to imbalance and poor judgment. The second question about the Talmudians, round eyes, Hillel attributed their environment, symbolizing their blurred vision of the evil eye, which stems from their jealousy and inability to view others' success positively. Last, in response to the question about the Africans' wide feet, Hillel answered their swampy environment reflect their overly rooted in materialism, a metaphor for that trait of big ego, gava, that keeps one stuck in physical pursuits and preventing spiritual growth. Through these answers, Hillel demonstrated how deep spiritual lessons can be drawn. Now, is that what this guy was really asking? Or was Hillel such a big person that he saw the best parts in this other person because he was trying to find himself in there? Do you hear what I'm saying? When you go to a Adam Chashuv, you go to a big person, the reason why you get that sense of calmness is because that person is elevating you when they're looking at you. Because they're seeing you through their own eyes. Do you understand that? Yeah.
Could you say it a little differently, that they've reached a high level within themselves, that they don't look at the way people are, present themselves as wrong, rather it's just where they are in that moment, like almost without judgment?
Yeah, that's part of it. I think that's part of it, but I think it's coming from a deeper place. Okay, and I just want to end with this, and I'll do some final words. Everything's in the hands of except for Yirat Shamayim. What does it mean? Hakol b'dei Shamayim chutz miyirat Shamayim. Everything's in the hands of heavens except for the fear of heaven means that I have a mission that I need to live with. Right? God puts everything out there for me. I can't control what is in front of me. I can only control my response to it. That's it. Right? The third class of manifesting your dreams is about changing the way you perceive your reality. I believe that your mind has the ability to alter the physical world around you. And the more you are in control of how you perceive things, the more you're able to pull the things that you actually want to in your lives. Bezrat Hashem, we'll continue the conversation next week. Have an amazing week, everybody. Please stay warm and be safe. Have a great week. Questions, comments?
Why is it so deep?
I'm so sorry, we're so deep tonight.